Welcome back, everybody. 8 years. In fact, that was about the time of the Beatles too. But that's how long the average marriage lasts these days. It's a sad fact. 50% of unions fail. And the number of couples splitting after 20 years is now doubled.
But our next guest may have the solution. Leading relationships expert Dr. Karen Phillip has come up with a checklist to safeguard your marriage from failure. And she's written a book, 7 Essential Things to Know Before We Say I Do. Karen joins us now. Welcome.
Hi.
Karen.
Those statistics about marriage, it's pretty depressing, isn't it?
They're very scary, actually, incredibly scary.
So why do you think we're failing when it comes to marriage in 2015?
It hasn't actually changed for the last 40-odd years. We've not learnt anything. We're doing nothing different than we've done for the last 40 years. And this is where it's so sad, because we know so much more, but we don't. And as Einstein said, we keep doing the same thing over and over, we're going to get the same results.
Definition
so we
of
need
insanity,
to start doing exactly. We need to start doing.
Is it true that the statistic would actually be quite a bit higher, except for the fact that there are a lot of people who live together and they're not married?
Well, de facto relationships, they say, break up 6 times more often than marriages. And then we also have around 20% of people that don't divorce after they separate. So our 48 to 50% divorce rate is actually quite higher.
So what's the solution?
OK, it's a matter of doing some work prior to getting into the marriage. We meet someone, we fall in love, we're in our love bubble and it's all blissful. Then we get engaged and we start planning the wedding. It's all about the dress and the ceremony and the honeymoon. But we don't actually talk about the issues that are going to come into a relationship. And it always does. And the same sort of issues come up time and time again. And when they do, they often end up in quite an adversarial position, and often by the time couples get to counselling, so much damage is done they really can't recover.
So those issues we're looking at now: finances and transparency, equality, sex, communication. Communication is probably a big one.
That's a very big one. It's not just a matter of communication. It's now we have social media coming into our relationship as well. Not only sharing our private lives on social media, but we're often neglecting our partner because of social media, where we used to sit down with them on the lounge or over dinner. We've now got our head buried into our Facebook.
Karen, in your book you believe that you have the 7 must-dos before you say I do. Let's bring them up on the screen and just talk us through these.
OK, one of the most important things is we are getting married a little later, so we've been a me for all our life. And when we become a we, everything we do affects our partner. So it's a matter of adjusting our mindset to know that we're now a we. Open and honest communication, well, that pretty much speaks for itself, but it's the way we communicate with our partner without using the language or the anger or the conflict. Transparency in finances, another real big deal breaker in relationships, one of the number one relationship breakdown reasons is the finance.
Intimacy is another one too.
Intimacy, yes, and the amount of sex that you have in a relationship. So that's important. We talk about the gender disparity and try to ensure that couples understand. And
all these things and so much more are on Karen's website, beforewegetmarried.com. Thanks for that, Karen. Some
Thank you,
valuable
Karen.
stuff.